Traditional young men don't understand modern women. And it's not because modern women are super difficult to decode and so secretive and whatever the case, but it's a denial from ourselves, um, or most young men. And I suffered from this myself, which is the inability to understand that modern women are not only capable of, but do practice intimacy without attachment. And by that I mean they do have the ability to be um, like physical with someone and not be emotionally attached to them. Now, I experienced this firsthand as being perhaps the person that is on the other side, where I know that this girl has a sort of intimate relationship, but then she just has a desire for me. Um, and I don't know how I chalked it up or like it justified it in my own mind, but there definitely are multiple experiences where maybe someone wanted me to be their first this, their whatever that, and I was that, and then they were able to then move on with their lives. Or people being from me to a successful relationship, not be intimate with that person, come back around to me on some, oh, I love my boyfriend, but I need that. And so I did kind of like rationalize it in some way, shape, or form, but it came up today again, and this is something that I had concluded by this year. Um, by say we're nearing the end of 2025 now, but by nearing the end of 2025, I had like completely understood that, oh, okay, this is a reality of the world. Like say end last year, I had understood that my understanding of the dynamics was misshapen because I had this belief as well that, or this traditional understanding of the woman as someone who is romantic, as someone who needs to have a certain type of connection. And the truth of the matter, I've come to understand, and perhaps some may disagree, I don't know, but I've come to understand it as, by and large, they prefer an emotional connection. Sure. Some, if not most, prefer an emotional connection. However, the modern woman is able to go by without this emotional connection because the consequences of not having that emotional connection are not what they used to be. Meaning, evolutionarily, or looking back in time, the consequence of not being monogamous as a female is you're not going to have protection, you're not going to have provisioning, like you're literally not going to have a roof over your head. If you're intimate with someone and you get pregnant, you're in like a vulnerable state, and there's no one to protect you because no one cares for you because you're promiscuous. Like it was literally a life or death thing, whether you are loyal to this one man or not, right? That's what it used to be. And slowly but surely over time, it's become less and less that. And now society is in a place where they almost uh, advocate for this, or they almost champion this type of behavior, to where you're kind of incentivized to not want to be in that situation. They always talk about, oh, don't get married too young, there's still life to live, this, that, the third, and all those things are true. But I'm now just trying to illustrate what I'm noticing is the difference and the juxtaposition between the reality of that situation and what um, young men right now are expecting or are perceiving. And this really, like I said today, was really crystallized in a moment that was the catalyst for this video, for this tweet that I put out, and I knew that I needed a subsequent video to follow it up. Is I'm watching this very popular show. I've never really been a fan of it. I don't think I've had ever seen a single full episode of it until, say, yesterday or in the last couple of days. It's called Open Chats. I'm sure a lot of people who see this, or people that watch it or have heard of it in some way, shape, or form. I thought initially it was this red pill, like we're just gonna have girls over that are super promiscuous and they're gonna do this and that. And I'm sure that's what it was in the beginning. They're doing PR stunts. They were just doing and saying whatever to kind of go viral, having empty conversations. And I think now it's kind of it's developing as they're developing as people, and it's something that I was interested in, especially with these couple of episodes, because I heard them talking about certain topics and the way that the guys were reacting to certain things that the women were telling them. And these are not women that are those original promiscuous. They're just gonna come here, show their tits, talk about smashing guys, and people are gonna watch it and whatever, just brain fog. These are actually um, what you classify as decent young women, decent young ladies, who I think have both graduated or were currently busy. I think one had graduated, the other was currently busy with some sort of law degree. The one that graduated was doing a commerce law, some sort of commerce law. I think BCom law, yes. And the other one was doing a Bachelor of Arts in law. So Bachelor of Arts was currently doing the so these are like decent girls, but they also look good as well. And one was doing a modeling thing as well right now, hence her being on that channel. And the other, I forgot what kind of occupation she was busy with at the moment. Anyway, I digress. So the point of that is, so these are decent. You can say this is a very good not cherry pick, but this is a very good example of what you can expect from a somewhat decent girl with a decent education who went to a South African university. So now we were talking about a very specific type of girl. Where it's like, okay, it's a beautiful girl, she has decent education, both parents in her life, all that good stuff. Both of them had this in common, and they were just having this conversation. Now, this is not to say that this is how decent you can say that they were. They didn't say, "Oh no, we do this. We've done this consistently. We do it now." But it's, "Oh no, this is possible." That's all they were saying. And the guys were saying, "No, no, no, no. Yeah, unless you're a hoe, then." And for me, that's so strange that you can literally argue with a person. It's like someone arguing with me, talking about like, "Yeah, well, I can't really do bread because I bloat." It's like, "Nah, bro, unless you are gluten intolerant, then you can't feel any sort of." It's like, but if I'm telling you, I'm telling you it's possible. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you it's possible for me. And so they were having this conversation, and they mentioned like this topic comes up of they're capable that women are capable of having emotionless intimacy. And the guy's like, "No, not unless you're a hoe, this, that, the third." And the ladies are both on the same. They're not really hard pressing this. They're not saying we have a person, but they're saying no. Oh, this is their entire argument is it is possible to be a decent, logical, well put together uh, woman, and at some point or another, for the sake of convenience, for whatever reason, have intimacy with a person that you don't necessarily love. And the guys are hard arguing against this. And so in that moment really crystallized something that, again, I'd been thinking about toying with. I went through an entire year almost. I'd say a good 6 months and some change. I'd say 8 max of celibacy journey, in which obviously I'm introspecting, I'm having conversations, I'm looking at things, I'm looking at dynamics, and recalling certain experiences that I've had, and having conversations with guys who are in similar spaces, having conversations with women, and trying to understand this. And I think that just crystallized it. So I wrote this down, which is, women are capable of sleeping with a man without an emotional connection as long as there are no social consequences. The only reason that they have behaved differently in the past was the consequences, the ones that I talked about now, which is death, literally. The consequences used to be more severe for being promiscuous. Now, this is either socially, that you are now an outcast, and now all the guys who have been with you don't want to be with you because they know you've been with other guys. So no one wants to take care of the babies, no one's claiming the baby. There used to be no way of DNA testing, there used to be no courts of law and child supports and whatnot. So the social consequences of being promiscuous used to be much higher. Okay. So that's out of the equation. And the only reason they behaved is because you and it's not just a them thing. We all behave according to what we are rewarded for and what we're punished for doing. And so if you're continually rewarded for going to the gym, if you go to the gym and you consistently do that, next thing you know, you're stronger, you're getting bigger, people find you more attractive, people tend to respect you more, they assume discipline, they assume this, they assume, like, if everything is a net positive because you have this experience or you behave in this way, then you're being taught to behave more so in that way. If you study and you do well, and as a result, you get better opportunities, then you're being reinforced to study. So it's not just that, oh no, these are bad people because they do this, but it's just that human beings tend to behave in a way that is according to what they have been rewarded for doing and against what they have been punished for doing. So the punishment used to be more severe for being promiscuous, and hence women were less promiscuous than men, because men, if you're able to protect, provide for, provision for multiple females, then that's what you did. And as long as they're getting protected and you're getting offspring, you're getting some sort of community that you're building, like you're building a village, like whatever the case, then we're both being rewarded for doing the action that we're doing. But what's happened in modern times is, again, this is being, the punishment is decreasing slowly but surely over time. Not only is it getting to like a egalitarian level, but it's getting to a point where women are more than likely getting better opportunities than men on a balance of probabilities. If you're going to look at the numbers and statistics right now, you're more than likely to be hired as an average worker if you're a black female, right? Obviously, at the executive level, then you're going to be talking about the people where the money is there, which is usually going to be men, which is usually going to be your white male. And here's the thing, that they don't also do that out of malice, but it's who am I close to? Who do I know who does? Who do I know who does? Who do I know who does? So it's not that they intentionally exclude someone or something, but it's just that I'm going to, for example, if I'm going to start a business, I'm going to start it with my friends, because those are the people that I trust, and there's a lot of money that's going to be put into this, a lot of money made. So if I'm not there with people that I trust, then I'm not going to do it. And so what I'm trying to get to here is, by and large, due to the way that the world is moving, women are becoming more and more independent. I think we all know this to be a fact. We all know this to be true, right? And so as a result of becoming more and more independent, it's not that, oh, we're independent, therefore we are now going to hoe. But it's like, oh, we're now independent, therefore if I behave in the same way that men have behaved for all time, because it may not necessarily just be a male thing to want to behave in a certain way, but it may be a human thing to want to behave in a certain way. Just that the male was not punished as severely as the female for doing a certain thing, and now the female is also becoming less and less punished for behaving in that way, and therefore they will. Not always, but they're definitely capable of doing it, number one, and they are doing it, number two. So, yeah, men will argue against this, and yeah, men will argue against this, and when women say it themselves, the men will be the one that come up. The women will agree with one another. Yeah, no, it is possible. Men will be, no, there's no way. You have to be, something's wrong with you. It's like, well, no, but if you actually look at the way that things are forming, the things are shaping and developing, then you kind of understand where they're coming from and why they're doing what they're doing a bit better. And the goal of this is not to bash anyone, but is to kind of equip you with some, not, I'm not trying to change anyone's worldview necessarily. I'm not trying to change the way that you treat people. I would love if everyone was treated with, the respect that that is warranted for whatever the dynamic is. But all I would like is for men, especially young men, to kind of grow up understanding what it is to expect, because we may have grown up in a time that was closer to what used to be than what is now and what is continuing to develop. And so you go out there looking for a certain thing in the opposite gender, or expecting a certain type of person that has a certain type of values, and those women's traditional values do exist 100,000%. But you also need to understand that that dynamic is going to be um, is going to have to be approached with a Himalayan pillar of salt, not just a grain of salt, a pillar of salt. Understanding that, okay, times may have changed, and so there are certain understandings, behavioral patterns that I'm going to need to approach this expecting from the other side. Because I think a lot of what, at least for me, has put me in positions where I didn't want to be in relationships, or put me in positions where the person does something that puts me off, is because I just didn't expect that a woman would be capable of such a thing. Whether it was um, an ex moving on extremely quickly, whether it an ex moving on extremely quickly and then claiming that they don't like that person or love that person, and then wanting to get back with me. Like those types of behaviors were something where I was like, no man, but something's not make sure here, because what do you mean you are emotionally attached to me, but you're capable of doing such a thing? And I know very often the answer probably in the comment section will be, ah, if they just didn't love you, that one. It's like, well, but for example, if me and this person are still in communication and they still went through whatever they went through, and it's been X amount of years, but whenever we conversate, there's no, how can I say, stake in lying to one another, but there's still that level of, no man, there's love here. How could that be possible if it was as simple as, oh, if they sleep with another person, then they tether the connection with you, and therefore, if they were so different from us as a fundamental version of a species, how could it be possible for that dynamic to exist? And I know that I'm not the only human being who's ever experienced that sort of dynamic, not once or twice as well. And so, definitely something that the young traditional man needs to understand about the modern women is that they're capable of such behaviors. That's it. That's all that I'm saying. I'm not saying that these behaviors are good or bad. That's up to you to decide what personal standards you have when it comes to that. But definitely would help you to understand that it is something that is possible. I'm not saying that I'm not saying what anyone should or shouldn't do, just that most men are oblivious that women have the capacity to be perfectly reasonable human beings and behave in such a way. Yeah, I think that's it. That's the ultimate thing that I think young men need to kind of understand to be able to navigate the world correctly, in the modern age. Again, I'm not saying now go for. I'm not saying yo, bro, you mustn't go for a girl who has no experience because you need no, chief. Listen, if you want just a purely fighting, type girl, go for that. If you want an experienced lady, if that's your thing, I'm not gonna judge, but there's something here. There's something here. I'm not saying that I've clocked it or mastered it or that I'm correct, but this is definitely a thought that is rooted in something. And it really, really clicked, like I said, when I was watching this podcast today. And the women are saying to the Bruellas, no, gents, this is how we feel. This is not this is what we do, because they perhaps don't do such a thing. Because again, there are decent women out there, or women who behave in a certain way that I would prefer. That's what I mean by decent. And then there are women who behave in a different way, that are more free spirited, open, whatever the case. And all that I ask of men is that we don't argue with the decent woman against their own capacity, even as decent women, to understand how something that is not that would be possible within a woman, and they could still be a reasonable woman. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, don't want to keep you for too long. Thank you for watching. If you did in fact enjoy today's video, I don't talk about this stuff often, but it does pop up from time to time. Please do hit that subscribe button. I have been Sage, standing on business. Signing out.